Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about Sailor Moon Crystal. More specifically, the two-part Eternal film sequel that got officially released by Netflix a little over a month ago, as I'm recording on June 25th, or probably more so than a month ago. I just finally was able to watch it with a good friend of mine. So I'm a little surprised that I'm going to be doing this video just because I didn't take any actual notes while watching it with somebody. Usually, if I take notes, I'm constantly stopping, starting, and analyzing and such, which I didn't want to interrupt my friend's experience watching the movie. But I haven't talked about this series in 5 years. Checked my video. The last video I did for Sailor Moon Crystal was in July of 2016. Can't believe it's been 5 years before we got this, but I'm very excited to talk about it because it was definitely a different experience. So before we get right into it, huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the two-part movie sequel, please go do so first and then come back and see what I have to say about it. And also, this video is going to be like a huge comparison between what I do remember from the 90s TV series, specifically season 4, which was the Super S portion of that anime series. Again, I haven't watched it since I was a kid, but there are very few key features I do remember from it. Also, I haven't read the manga. I did when Crystal first started, but I didn't catch up with it. But I did notice that Crystal was very closely to the manga than the 90s version was. So I'm assuming with the Eternal series, that is essentially what the manga was meant to go down. So which will make this video very interesting to talk about the differences I did notice between what I do remember and what I saw today. So I'm hoping to not do a very long video, but there actually are 5 key differences that I noticed when watching the two series. So buckle in, guys, and let's see what I came up with. Also, if you notice any differences that I missed, please let me know in the comments down below. Again, it's been a while since I've seen the 90s version. But I do remember small things here and there. So let's get started on the first difference that I noticed with the Eternals Part 1 and Part 2 movie. First up, I just noticed that there was a lot more backstory when it came to the other scouts. The fact that, like, I know in the 90s we did know that Amy's mom was a doctor, but we actually got to see her on screen in this one, and we also got to know about her father as well too. Same thing for Rei. We found out a little bit more of how she came to the temple with her grandfather and what happened to her parents. And then with Makoto, I remember in the 90s we did know that she lost her parents, but in this one we got to know a little bit more of like how that came to be and how she came to live on her own and how she's been dealing with that. And then Minako, same thing, I believe, was a little bit more on her as a person, where she coming from, and all the insecurities of what it meant to be the leader, and knowing that about her role as a guardian first before everybody else, but not feeling like she was up for the task. Also, I always forget that Venus is meant to be the leader of the scouts, and it's not Sailor Moon. So it's a huge reminder there. So I felt like we got a lot more backstory when it came to them. And then when we got the Outer Scouts in the second part of the Eternals event, we got a little bit more of finding out what was happening during those 6 months that were meant to be between their departure at the end of season 3 to when we're seeing them now. So it's very, and all like the different ways and promises that they've made towards each other to take care of baby Hotaru. So that was something very interesting there. We also got the backstory of Helios a little bit more so, and how he was connected to Mamo-chan. And also we got more of a backstory with Mamo-chan and his connection to Earth, and as well as his past life connected to the Silver Millennium, as well as all the other scouts and their past lives in the Silver Millennium. We even got to see Silver Millennium Queen Serenity, and baby, or not baby, Chibi Usagi, when she was in that past life. So it was a lot more flashbacks and a lot more of seeing the past life reincarnations kind of coming into light, which was a lot more than I remembered from the 90s. So that was a huge change from that. I also really don't remember in the 90s if we saw the human versions of Artemis, Luna, and Diana. I know in one of the movies there was a human Luna, but like it was very interesting to see them turn into humans for that brief moment when like the silver millennia kind of thing popped up. So that was a huge change as well. And if that, I'm kind of wondering why all that extra stuff was cut from Super S in the 90s version, because if all that was part of the manga, it's like that was like some pretty deep stuff for all the scouts. I mean, even for Mamoru as well too, or Mamo-chan as well, to have all that, it really fleshes out them and all the different past life storylines and their future selves and stuff like that. So that was a huge thing I noticed first right off the bat. Another difference I did notice was Mamo-chan's presence in the full movie, because I remember distinctly in the Super S season 4 of the 90s, he was pretty much out of commission to the point where the scouts didn't know if he was going to survive, to the point that Chibiusa's life was on the line, where she was flickering out of existence. So we got to see that a lot more in the 90s version, while in this version, Mamo-chan was very much conscious throughout both parts of the movie. He was a lot more sick, and exploration of his backstory and his connection to Earth and why he was specifically getting sick was a lot more explored, which I really appreciated as well. We also got to see a little kid version of him, because one thing that I was very surprised about was that one of the filler episodes in the 90s was when Usagi and Chibiusa both switch ages. So we got like a kid version of Usagi and then a teenage version of Chibiusa. And they actually stuck with that in the movies for a brief time, which I didn't think they were going to do, because it felt more like a filler moment in the 90s. But then they did it again with Chibiusa and Mamo-chan being de-aged again, and having that brief dream sequence of them just being kids and being in love with each other. And it was just so cute. I'm kind of sad that they took that out of the Super S version, but I did really appreciate the fact that we got to be a lot more fleshed out about Mamo-chan's connection, and because we always got the sense that he always enhanced Usagi's powers, and how they have this star-crossed lovers, always soulmates connection kind of a thing. But it was great to see his side of it, and how it wasn't just him powering her, but also she powers him up as well. So it's more of like equality between their two powers, instead of him just being like the booster to her powers. So it was great to see like his side of their connection, which was something I'm glad to see was in the original and manga and brought back. Another difference that I did notice was the actual confrontation with Queen Nehelenia, and actually Queen Nehelenia in general, because Super S in the 90s, I remember this mirror maze where slowly Sailor Moon loses connection to every one of her scouts, and she has to go through this maze and confront Queen Nehelenia by herself. I mentioned before the risk of Chibiusa's actual existence happening during this whole maze sequence. But also the fact that I distinctly remember Queen Nehelenia reverting back to her original age. And we got to see like a younger version of the queen. And how it was the darkness of Zirconia and the dark moon, or the dead moon, that is what transformed her into an older, corrupted version of herself. That is what I remember from the 90s. So I was very surprised that in this version, Queen Nehelenia was actually the younger version of Zirconia, from my understanding. And how I also really appreciate that they further developed the backstory of her involvement with the Silver Millennium, and how she was the darkness to Queen Serenity's lightness, and how she was banished, and but also very interesting to see that there wasn't a chibi version of the Queen Nehelenia. So it was very distinctly different in her approach to everything. So it was very interesting to see her not revert to the younger version of herself, but to revert into the older version of Zirconia. So that I felt that was a huge difference, because it was just more of like I was waiting for the queen to go back into her younger self. Plus, also, I didn't realize how very strikingly similar her appearance looked to Luna's human appearance, like the hair, and the fact that she had cat eyes, the fact that she had like 3 lunar symbols on her. A part of me was thinking like Queen Nehelenia was like originally a cat or something, or maybe she was originally related to Luna at some point, or an evil version of her, just from this similarities to Luna's human self. So that was just something where it's like, oh, she's got to be a cat. Like, that's got to be the twist, right? So, like, I was greatly wrong about that. But also, there's a huge difference between how she was dealt with in the 90s version to how she was dealt with in the film, which I thought was very interesting in itself. Another difference, a huge difference, is the fact that the outer scouts, that is Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Saturn, were actually involved in the Dead Moon Circus, because I'm 90% sure that the 90s version did not have them at all in the Super S story. Like, I really don't remember them being included, and I'm thinking if they were included, then maybe only in the Mirror Maze, because like I really strongly remember thinking that like they were just gone in season 4, and like they were introduced and very prominent in season 3, and then we didn't get them in season 4, and then they came back in season 5 when it came with dealing with Galaxia and the Starlights. So to see them in part 2 of this Eternal Films special was a huge surprise for me. And I don't know if that's because I'm misremembering Super S, or if maybe I did remember correctly and I just wasn't expecting them to play a huge part at all. So that was a big shock there. I probably have it wrong. Please let me know in the comments down below. Like I said before, it's been a very long time since I've seen the 90s version all the way through. But they're just key moments where it's like, oh, I remember that kind of a scenario, or this scenario, or that. Like, so yeah, I just thought that but I was very happy to see the Outer Scouts. I was missing my Sailor Moon and Sailor Uranus exchanges that we got in season 3, because like while I'm loving Usagi Mamoru-chan and Haruka and Michiru together, like I love the canon couples as they are, but just the flirting that comes with Sailor Moon and Sailor Uranus and that deep protectiveness there, it's like, you gotta give me a little bit of it, because like that's just like the teasing flirtiness right there. So I was glad to see a little bit happening in there, even though it was heavily focused more on Usagi and Mamo-chan's relationship, their eternal love, as it were. And the last huge thing that I found the difference for was the films actually revealed the Amazon Quartet to actually being the Sailor Scouts from the future, to the point where I think they're meant to be Chibiusa's, I think she's meant to be Sailor Mini Moon's 4 scouts herself, like her version of like Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and Venus were meant to be these Amazon sailors, Sailor Scouts. I definitely don't remember it being revealed to be that in the 90s anime, because I do remember over the years when I'd look into like, oh, who were the villains and all that, and I'd come up upon the wiki page saying like, oh, the Amazons were actually meant to be the Sailor Scouts. I remember thinking, wait, I don't remember that from the 90s. When was this revealed? And only seeing the manga depictions of them in their scout uniforms. So I was very surprised, yet also very happy that they actually covered it in the at the ending of the Eternals saga, because it just felt like, oh, that is why they had so much power. That is why Queen Nehelenia targeted them, and it made such much more sense than them just being created for pure evil when it's just them being corrupted. As opposed to Tiger's Eye, Hawkeye, and Fisheye being created from actual animals to be these minions. So it was very interesting to get the Amazon Sailor Scouts when I don't think we did in the 90s version. So that was a huge thing there. I definitely can't wait to see them be reunited with Sailor Chibi Moon or Sailor Mini Moon in the 30th century, or is it 31st century? But I'm pretty sure we won't see them again if we're solely focusing on Sailor Moon's time period. So that is something there. But otherwise, that's pretty much all that's all the 5 differences that I picked up on, though. I'm very interested to see what you guys picked up on between the 2 parts of the Eternals film Saga. I don't know if they're going to continue with this, with the next section, which is the Starlight's Saga from the manga. I don't know if they're going to do it as a film again, or if we're going to go back to the television format. I do hope they do adapt that series, because I really want to know if it greatly differed from what we did in the 90s. I actually watched the season 5 of that when I was older, just because I think it didn't have an English dub when it was originally meant to happen. So I'm very curious to see how that is going to transpire. But I hope it doesn't take another 5 years for us to get that. I'm very excited, and I was very happy to go down the nostalgia of the Dead Moon Circus, even more so with my friend when we had our little Netflix party for it. But I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about it, what you guys picked up on, what were your similarities and differences that you picked up on, whether you are going off of the 90s or if you're going off the manga. Please let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear what all that is that you pinpointed, because like I said before, my memory's a little hazy. It's been a while since I've seen anything all the way through. I definitely feel like I want to rewatch the full series again, just to reel it all in. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. If you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I read blog promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff. All found in one place. Go check that out. I don't think I have a lot on Sailor Moon Crystal on it, but I do have a tag for it, so check that out if you want. Or if you're a fan of any of the other shows I talk about, check me out there. But otherwise, WordPress, link for that is down below. Anything I post on is connected to WordPress, a little more organized, a little more detail, work in progress as well. I think I have a page for Sailor Moon on there as well, so I'll link it down below specifically. But yeah, that's about it, guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I mean, it's been 5 years since we got anything new for Sailor Moon Crystal, so I'm glad you guys checked back in to see what I have to say, and I'm looking forward to see what you have to say. But I'll leave it there. I hope you check out my other videos. I hope you just click the notification bell, because again, I don't know when we'll get anything new for Sailor Moon Crystal, but if we do, I hope to do a video for it. But until then, notification bell, so you're always in the loop. So for that's it. This is Mel. Wish you a great day, great week, wherever you are. Please stay safe during these times. We can see the light at the end of this pandemic, so just stay strong and be safe while we get to that point. So take care, guys. Bye for now.